Hey guys, and welcome to the 8th tutorial in our Pandas course. Now that we know how to retrieve various elements from series, we'll focus on retrieving properties of series, and this will be a way just to get various attributes such as the max, min, etc. So we're going to first cover guessing numerical properties such as the maximum of a series, minimum of a series, count, etc. And then we'll focus on stuff like guessing the indexes of the maximum and minimum values. We can also find stuff like the distribution of values. That's really nice, returns us kind of like a histogram type feel, and there'll be some others as well. So let's head on over to the code and get started. Alright, so last time we finished off in section, actually that should have been section 7, which was guessing elements from series via slicing. So let's go ahead and start up a new cell. We'll kind of just rerun this, make sure we're good to go, and let's go ahead and get started. Now, I figure we'll try to pack everything into one section, just because most of this stuff is fairly straightforward and works in pretty much the same way throughout. Now, just to kind of mix things up a bit, I'm going to start by creating a pandas series like so. Actually, let's zoom in a little bit. Okay, oh, maybe not. Okay, every time I zoom in, this thing covers it all. So I'm just going to enter some random values. Just make sure, actually, we'll do values between 1 and 5. We'll just do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then we'll do kind of a random distribution of these values here. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 values. That should be good enough. So we just want a little bit of variety here. Here we've got 3 1s, we've got a couple 2s, couple 3s, couple 4s, and then just the 1 5. So you can make this as random or as ordered as you want. It's just if it's a bit more random, it will help to demonstrate some of the later points in this tutorial. Okay, good stuff. Now, one of the most common things we'll want to know about a series is how many elements are in it. That will help us to perform a lot more calculations a lot more easily. So that is fairly easy. All we have to do is get the count of the series. So we can do something like series count is going to be equal to series.count, and we can just go ahead and print that guy out. Okay. Oh, actually, I suppose we should probably print out the variable, and that will actually retrieve us the value. Okay, so we get 10 here. Okay, so series.count, make sure that you are using the brackets here, the parentheses, and that's because this is a function call rather than just a property. If we want, we can print out the type of series count as well. Series count. You can see that it's clearly not a pandas series, it's just a single value, and is in fact a NumPy in 64. Okay, cool. So the count is one thing, the maximum and minimum and the mean, those are very often things you'll want to retrieve. So let's say something like series max is going to be equal to our series.max, like so. Again, we're going to need brackets, and then we can do the same for series minimum. Series.min, like so. We can go ahead and print those out if we want. Series max and the series min. Okay. As you can see, we get 5 and 1 respectively. That makes sense. You can also get other properties such as the mean, mode, etc., all by doing series dot, and then it kind of gives you a list of all of the properties we can get. So like I said, we can get the mean, okay, we get the mode, median, and so on and so forth. Now, there's actually an even better way of doing this, and that is by using the describe function. The describe function will essentially calculate a bunch of these properties and return them all to us in this nice kind of data frame format. So rather than finding all these values individually, what we're just going to do is we'll say something like description is equal to series.describe. Okay, again, this is a function call, so we're going to use the parentheses here, and we'll just print out description. If that actually shows up, there we go. All right, so really cool. Not only does this return the count, also gets the mean, standard deviation, the minimum, the maximum, and also gets the 25, 50, and 75% values as well. So more often than not, we'll probably just use the describe property. If we're getting stuff like the minimum, maximum, mean, all that stuff anyway, we can basically guess it all in this nice bundle here. Right, another thing we might want to do is sum up the elements. Now, that's typically done through a loop or something like that. We actually have a function built in that does the work for us. So we could say something like series sum is going to be equal to the series dot, and then we can do sum like this. Print out the series sum. Okay, and just like before, well, in this case, it will give us a total, but just like before, it is a function call, so we need to make sure we're doing that. Now, let's say that we're trying to get the minimum and the maximum values, but we want a certain number of the minimum maximum values. We don't just want, let's say, the smallest and the largest. We want maybe the smallest 2 elements and the largest 2 elements. For that, we can use this nLargest function. So this is going to be series, or nSmallest as well. Series.nLargest will give us a certain number of the largest elements. In this case, we want 2 of the largest elements, so we'll just say something like n2. I guess we can't start with that. We'll just do nLargest is equal to this, okay, and then the nSmallest is equal to series.nSmallest. Okay, we go ahead and print out nLargest and nSmallest, nLargest and smallest. Okay, then we're going to get those values in series. So you can see that these are series type objects and gives us not only the index and the count, the value itself, but, or rather, it gives you both the index and the value in this, again, series type object. Now, we can also get the index of the maximum and minimum values. Usually we'd use describe to get stuff like this, but let's say we want the index of where the maximum and minimum are. We'll often use this if we're dealing with machine learning. Very often you have like classification type problems, and you'll need to find out the highest value. That brings you the correct results for a classification. Okay. So for that, you might want something like max index or min index equal to series dot index max. So IDX, short for index, and then the maximum. Okay, and then the same with minimum. Min index is equal to series.id x min. Okay, again, we can go ahead and print those out. And this will just return us the minimum and the maximum index of those objects. Of course, we actually got that once we did the nLargest and nSmallest. It gave us both the index and the value as well, so you can get them kind of all in one package there. Now, the last thing I wanted to bring up with regards to just a series of numbers is going to be the value counts function. The value counts function is very, very useful for creating kind of like or for producing histograms. Once you see, once we use value counts with a data frame, it automatically displays histograms for us. In our case, it will just return some data. So we're going to say something like histogram is going to be equal to series dot, and then we're going to do value counts. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and print out our histogram. Oops, let's just do histogram like that. All right. Now this is actually very, very useful. So this creates something different. It's no longer using the indexes from our series because it's creating something different. It's essentially saying, okay, there's values 1, 4, 3, 2, and 5. And we're just going to basically display the number of times those values appear in our series. That's why I kind of made it a bit more random, a bit more variation in the numbers there. Also note how it ranks them automatically from most common to least common, and then by index number as well. So these all have 2 elements, or rather the 4 appears twice, 3 appears twice, and the 2 appears twice, but we're going from top to bottom 4 to 2. Okay, and then again in order of frequency. All right. Now, the last thing I wanted to demonstrate in this tutorial is going to be the fact that some of these functions will return different kinds of results based on the data that we're inputting. All of this stuff makes sense once we're dealing with numbers. There's obviously going to be a highest and a lowest number in the series. There will be, we'll be able to find stuff like the standard deviation, the mean, mode, median, etc. All of that makes a lot of sense when we're dealing with numbers. However, what if we have a Pandas series that is all objects, so strings, or if we have a Pandas series that's all booleans? Well, I'm just going to demonstrate one of the functions. That's going to be the describe function when it comes to dealing with objects and with booleans. So what we can do is we can say something like description. Well, actually, I guess we'll first recreate the series. So our series is going to be equal to a Pandas series, but we're just going to put in some objects. Okay, so we'll just do like A, B, and C. Okay, so now we're going to do the description. Description is going to be equal to our new series, and we're just going to describe it. And I think I did not mean to run that cell. Should probably spell that properly, and then we're going to go ahead and print out the description. All right, so now you can see that we get slightly different measurements. We get the count, that makes sense. We get the number of unique values, okay, we get the top values. So in this case, A is ranked the highest of all, and then the frequency of that top value appearing, which is going to be 1. We get similar kinds of results when we're dealing with a series of booleans, okay? So we'll again do this and copy and paste that, but we're going to change these to some boolean values. So we'll just do true, false, false, true, something like that. Okay, so again, we get the count, we get the unique number, 2, top occurrence is true, and then the top frequency is twice. So if we do, I guess there is a discrepancy here, so let's do all trues. Okay, we can see that now it's very obvious that the top occurring frequency is 3, and the top occurring value is going to be true. That's occurring the most number of times. There are 2 unique values here that's either true or false, and the total count is 5. Now, the very, very final thing I wanted to go over, I feel like I've said that like 3 times now, is going to be 2 more functions that that are only really useful when dealing with series of true or false values or series of booleans, okay? And those are going to be our any and our all functions. So the all function basically returns true if all values are true, and then any function returns true if any of the values are true. Okay, so what we can do is something like all true is going to be equal to series.all. Okay, again, because our series is a bunch of booleans, this makes sense. Okay, we're going to print out all true. Okay, and then we'll also do any, might as well do them all in the same go. So we'll do our any true, series.any, and then we're going to go ahead and print out any true as well. Okay, we'll go ahead and rerun the cell, and then we get false, and then we get true. So it's just a single value. That makes sense. Are all of these values true? Well, of course not. There are a couple falses in there, so that's going to return false. Are any of the values true? Absolutely. 3 of the values are true, so that will return true. So these are especially useful if we're just trying to determine if there is at least one case that returns true. Okay, perhaps we have some kind of data that will, I don't know, maybe trigger a function if at least one of the cases is true. Okay. Again, same thing, where if all of the cases are true, maybe we want to make sure that they are not all false or something like that. Okay. So that is pretty much all I wanted to cover. There are definitely more properties that you can retrieve from series. I would very highly encourage you to check them all out. It just doesn't really make much sense for me to go over every single one with you guys. Again, a lot of coding is exploring on your own. So check out some of those other properties. And when you come back in the next section, we're going to be working on a couple techniques that will help us to modify a series. So that can be either the individual values or modifying how the series is structured. Okay, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one.